Welcome. The purpose of this video is to identify the key issues of CIMA November 2017 Strategic Case Study. I'm Gajendra Lianarachi from a4study.com. Let's look at the case study in detail. The company is Steel Cast. What's the company? Steel Cast manufacture luxury wristwatches with mechanical clock movement. Let's look at the history of the company. The company was incorporated in 1910 and the company developed a standard called Certified Chronometer and introduced their flagship brand in 1924 as the chronograph. And then the company was involved in luxury sports, polo, motor racing and yachting and in aviation. So then the company developed their flagship product in 1970 called the Braun, which is considered as the global standard. Does this sound familiar? Let me think. Oh yes, there's only one company in the world which has these characteristics. What's that company? Rolex. Throughout the case you see the Rolex is within the system. Entire developments of the company is in line with the developments of Rolex. For example, Rolex was incorporated in 1905. They were given the Swiss official certification in 1920. What's that? That's a higher standard for a high quality wristwatch. Rolex standard was so high in the world, they pioneered the concept of the mechanical movement, automatic movement, and the Swiss authorities had to give a standard. Okay, Rolex, this is the world standard. Then they pioneered in 1924 the chronograph, which is the market leader still, and in 1970 they introduced the breakthrough model, which is the darling of every wristwatch collector, the Daytona. In line? Oh yes, and that is the game. Now let's look at the issues. Issue number 1 is product portfolio. This will definitely be tested. Why? We have a history more than 100 years. How many products do we have? How many models do we have? 7 models. Only 7 models with minor variations. Is it a problem? Oh yes, massive problem, because the modern world is not 1910. 1910, yes, people were serious. You buy one watch, that's it. You buy one watch, that's it. That's the game. But now we change. People have changed. Think about the world now. Think about 1910. Massive difference. Meaning, examiner will ask you to look at additional options. How to develop new products. Oh, what comes to your mind? Answer matrix. Then evaluate the present portfolio with a revenue stream and a weightage. What comes to your mind? Do we have a dog? Do we have a dog? Why? BCG matrix. Oh yes, you will clearly see few dogs and majority are cash cow. We lack stars. So we need a balance in the portfolio. Examiner will test that. Go through the 3 stuff. Very important. Portfolio will be tested. We have inadequate products. We need to develop new products. Maybe diversification is the key. Issue number 2 is mission and strategy. Let's look at the mission of the company. We make watches for leaders who wear them with pride. I repeat, we make watches for leaders who wear them with pride. Brilliant. Oh really? When was this developed? 1930. Great. Before the Second World War, people were serious. There were leaders. People respected leaders. Leader was a very important figurehead in the world. So if the leader wears a wristwatch, everybody will follow. Brilliant. Is the world similar now? Never. At that time in 1930, when this mission was developed, there's no internet, there's no automation, and most importantly, there is no Facebook. Now the life is different. Leadership is questionable now due to political and commercial developments. And the mission has a big problem. What's that? Too narrow. Examiner loves this area. Examiner will ask you to evaluate it. Please say it's too narrow. It suits 1930. It needs to be more broader. Now the people need to look at better things. Rolex sponsors Roger Federer. Why? He's an achiever. He's a performer. He has a passion. And people respect and recognize. It's about distribution. Everybody sees things on Facebook. People share things. It's not about pride. It's about association now. So meaning, their mission has to be altered, and the examiner will ask you how to develop objectives, why it's difficult to develop objectives. You know, when you develop an objective, we look at SMART approach: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Very difficult to develop objectives for pride. That's why examiner didn't give any objective. Normally the case study will give aims and the objectives. This time it's not there. That's a clue. Just look at Rolex. What is their thought about this mission? What they say is this: Rolex will never change the world. We leave it over to the people who wear it. Rolex will never change the world. We leave it to the people who wear them. Wow, sounds familiar? Oh yes, that's where we got the mission for steel cars. So clearly, too narrow. If you think about leaders, you have to knock the door. Are you a leader? Not anymore. You can't do that. You can't do that. Leadership has declined due to lack of trust. So we need to shift from leadership, well, we respect the leader, from leadership to performance and ethics. Very important. A broader appeal. Very, very important. Michael Porter, generic strategy. Clearly, we are in a niche market. Go through generic strategy. We need to shift from a narrow niche market to broader market. But are we a differentiator? Oh yes, clearly we are a differentiator. Issue number 3, risk management. Well, risk management is important for what? For future, not for today. Whatever we think today may not be correct in the future. Let's look at the company. Company has given a clear risk analysis with 5 issues in the annual report. However, the company looks blind. They look blind and they look like they live in the past. They say for all the 5 risks they identified, it's under control, they have managed it, and there's no problem. What does that mean? You know from P3, moment you think you have everything under control, next day something is going to happen. Moment think your ship is fine, you can sail, then comes Titanic. Oh yes, that's the catch. So clearly we need to improve these risk management processes. Number 1, examiner will ask you to develop a proper risk management process, distinguish between gross risk and net risk, and interpret the tolerance limit. What is the tolerance limit? The risk in which you are comfortable. Remember, company lives in the past. For example, their first risk identified is copying of the design. Copying of the design. Behind luxury watches, our design is very important and our design is seen as a standard. So what do they say? They say we are fine, nobody can copy that, and even if we will copy it, our customers won't change. Our customers won't change. Very childish explanation. Think beyond that. So you need to, of course, our designs are difficult to copy. That doesn't mean people are not copying it. You need to develop measures like monitoring system, market intelligence, evaluate the options, and scrutinize the retailers. Very important. Go to internet, type Rolex replica, type Patek Philippe replica, type Brequet replica, type Hublot replica. Can you see that? Plenty. You can see it, you can buy it from China. Same movement, replica, meaning what? A copy. So it is there. We need to open your eyes. Examiner will test that. Issue number 4, CSR. Important area connected with ethics always. This is the modern world order. And also triple bottom line is connected with CSR, planet, profit and people, and global reparative initiative. Global reporting initiative is important. Let's come to the company's CSR. They have identified 5 areas. Again, a little bit of complacent here, little bit of depending on the past. The company says we are fine. What's the first issue? Health and safety. What is their strategy? They say we train our staff. We train them from the beginning so they know how to protect themselves. Oh God. You can't say that. Health and safety is not like that. Today you think you're right, the roof will fall into your head, you're dead. It's about tomorrow. So let's see. The case study says a wristwatch has how many parts? Very good. 350 parts. And the case study says some components are very small, can't be seen to the naked eye. I owned a wristwatch company. I know how it works. You have to wear this magnifying glass and look at these small parts for 8 hours. And after that you get a headache. Your eye starts to do all sorts of things. You can't sleep when you go home. Now that's the problem in this industry. Meaning what? It's not about looking at the health and safety in your office. It's about looking after your staff after office and looking at occupational hazard, maybe insurance, maybe long-term relationships, maybe medical care, and maybe having a bonus scheme for staff. and be proactive. Please look at this issue. It is more serious. You need to look at the industry, and industry will tell you it's not an easy thing to look after this wristwatch and look after 350 parts. 350 parts. This is not inside a bulldozer. It's inside this. It's inside this. Very small. So you need to look at it. Gives you headache. I've tried it. It's not easy. Please think about that. So CSR is good. You need to have better strategy and better focus. Issue number 5, competition. Wonderful. We are given 2 competitors, Lian and Bellera. Bellera is more aggressive, bright wristwatch. What does that mean? For the new market, young market, and they have a deal with the world's fastest car manufacturer. Lian is more larger, more selective. But what does the whole case study tell us throughout? Simple. Think like the examiner. Nothing about competitor analysis. We don't do any competitor analysis. No benchmarking. No intelligence. We live in a dream world. And in your exam, examiner will wake you up. You need to get up. Meaning, you need to recommend. You need to identify key competitors, identify their strategy, develop a benchmark, and have better market intelligence. You can beat me today. Maybe you have beaten me in the last 10 years. Maybe you have beaten me in the last 30 years. Maybe it was easy beating me. Sorry, mate. Not in the future. Maybe tomorrow I will beat you. Think about these areas. Definitely this will be tested. All what we need to recommend is competitor analysis, competitor profiling, alternative strategy, benchmark, and reporting. Be proactive. That's all. Issue number 6 is the production system. Let's look at the production system. 1,000 staff work in one factory, and it's mainly manual mechanical. Each staff member or each watchsmith, we call them watchsmith, watchmaker, or a craftsman has your own bench. Very silent. Don't disturb the guy. You look at 350 parts like this. If you disturb, if you make a small mistake, you're gone. You're gone. Dead and buried. So, plus the company has computer numerical control. It's amalgamation of technology and skill. Final assembly, purely skill. What are the problems? You can see from the case. Examiner will test this. One factory, 1,000 staff in one factory. What if there's a fire? What if there's a power failure? What if there's a problem, conflict, culture? All these issues, because you see them all the time. Please recommend an alternative production facility. Not in large scale. We can't do that in Swiss industry and in luxury wristwatches. Mind you, you will look at diamond theory later in your studies. Switzerland is the pioneer in luxury wristwatches. It's like Scotch in Scotland, Switzerland for wristwatches. It's like Italy for clothing, Switzerland for wristwatches. So if you sell a wristwatch, you need to promote it in the Geneva wristwatch show and the exhibition. Like if you are promoting clothing, you have to go to Milano, same thing. So you need a factory, you need to be specialist people. But you need to look at risk, you need to look at alternative production options. So recommend an alternative facility, at least to have 25% of the production. In an emergency, maybe hire a place in case. So at least you can have 250 staff in one location, so that if there's a crisis, your factory will not disappear. You move forward. No harm looking at alternative suppliers, alternative outsourcing methods as well. Keep that in your mind. Very important. 1,000 staff in one place is a risk. Issue number 7, financial management. Look at the data. Look at the data. Looks beautiful, isn't it? Brilliant. Turnover increased by 17.6% compared to 2016. Now it is 5,556 million, 17.6% increase. Net profit increased by 16%. Wow! You can see that the impact in the market. Share price at the beginning of this year, $4.2. Now 7.8 within 9 months. Clearly, the financial performance directly contributed for that. Look closely. Open your eyes. Read between the lines. What do you see? You see somebody smiling at you. Who is smiling at you? Oh yes, that's a debtor. Debtors have increased by 17.6%. See something? Smell something? Feel something? Yes, bad debt. Debtors increased by 17.6% in the same year. Same amount at the rate of the turnover. What does that mean? That means it can be a new retailer. The company only sells through retailers. It can be a new retailer who is optimistic and purchase your watches, more watches, suddenly bankrupt, gone. You're dead and buried. The debtor days have increased from 42 to 56. Challenge and a danger. Look at these symptoms in analysis. And also there's another catch. Examiner likes this area. If you look closely, operational expenditure has increased by 42% this year. 42%. Now who are you? You're a senior manager in finance. You advise on special projects and strategy to the board. So you're a serious guy. You need to recommend, you need to consult them. This is what you can do. If you reduce, listen carefully, if you reduce operational expenditure by 10%, net profit goes up by 33%. Let me tell this again. Reduction in operational expenditure by 10%, increase the net profit by 33%, meaning reduction in operational expenditure by 1% will increase the net profit by 3.3%. This is what the senior management like to hear. This is what the shareholders like to hear. Reduce operational expenditure, increase net profit, increase shareholder wealth. Sky is the limit. Examiner will test the new model methods. TQM, lean manufacturing, value chain, how to integrate production, outsourcing methods, reduce overheads. Be prepared to recommend that. Clearly you get marks in this area and also in integration. Issue number 8, corporate governance. A modern concept, highly tested. Examiner has tested this throughout with ethics. Let's see what the company is talking about. The company talks about having 3 committees. What are the 3 committees? Nomination committee, remuneration committee, and audit committee. There's an issue here. What's the issue? The company is in Highland and listed in 1982. What we learn in P3 is corporate governance principles according to combined code applicable to UK listed companies. However, we can use that as a benchmark. Please remember, you can't directly force combined code, but you can use as a learning. What's the catch? Watch closely the names in the committees. One person is there. Who is that? Walter, the lawyer with a political background. He is in all 3 committees. That itself is a violation of corporate governance. He has more power. There's no segregation. Clearly we need more people, but the problem, we only have 4 non-executive directors. So you need to recommend in the exam more non-executive directors to ensure transparency, objectivity and integrity, and please strengthen the audit committee. There's only 2 guys, Lucas and Walter. Lucas is fine, he's an accountant, but you need a little bit more to make sure you look at audit in more detail and ensure transparency. Issue number 9, promotion and sponsorship. Well, the company was very successful. We have our own polo team, and the examiner says Prince Sebastian is the captain of our polo team and he led us to a victory. And then it's a strange thing. They say he has a terrible problem with character and people don't like him. Oh, will it affect our brand? Oh yes. Oh yes. Our brand should be pure. It should be transparent because it associates leadership. Remember, for a leader to be respected, you need to be transparent and you need to be honest. How do you define leadership? Ability to influence the behavior of others. What is leadership? Ability to influence the behavior of others. Meaning, Prince Sebastian might not be in line with our brand values. In addition, the company advertises on selected magazines only. Well, examiner will ask you to be proactive. Look at new methods of advertising. Look at new methods of promotion. Look at the ethical aspects of using Prince Sebastian. I mean, he's a leading figure. Think twice about that. And also benchmark with the industry. Who is the brand ambassador of Rolex? Oh yes, Roger Federer. Roger Federer, who has won more Wimbledon than anybody in history. He's a brand ambassador. He's a leader. Plus he's a performer. So we need a brand ambassador. We need to move forward. We need to reach the customers with better brand values and effective promotion. Keep that in your mind. Issue number 10 is retailing. There's a massive problem with retailing. What's that? We do not sell directly to the customers. We have no idea about the consumer. So we only sell to the retailer. Is it dangerous? Of course. Why? Because retailer are high street jewelers. They have their outlets in luxury supermarkets, high-end, and also in duty-free shops. What's the danger? They sell others' products. So you have our product still cost and other luxury watches. Could be 10. What's the catch? Simple. If we give 20% margin to the retailer, if our competitor Lien gives 30%, human nature, isn't it? Human nature is to recommend the watch which gives you 30% than the watch which gives you 20%. Big problem. Not only that, there's another issue. We have given autonomy to the retailer, and retailer can decide on the discount, and retailer can give discount to any army or military personnel, and who bears the cost? We have to bear the cost. No control. So examiner will test this area. Examiner will ask you to develop a control system to manage the retailers. Clearly you need to control the discounts, you need to have a budget, and also you need to develop measures to reach the consumer. Do not change the existing value chain. That's fine. Retailers are doing a good job. But they have higher bargaining power. Don't forget Michael Porter 5 forces. Try to develop a website. Try to develop an agent. Try to reach the consumer at least to get the feedback, and regularly monitor the retailers. That's the only way to survive. Issue number 11. Merger and acquisition. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. Why am I saying that? Because the company has given ideas regarding Lien. The whole P&L and balance sheet of Lien is provided. If you look at the financials of Lien, one thing is very clear. They are 1.3 times larger than us. Their gearing ratio is 15%, debt divided by total asset. Our ratio 25%. Their interest cover 11 times. Our interest cover 6 times. Their investment in property, plant and equipment this year is 6% more than last year. Our investment only 1% compared to last year. What does that mean? They are more aggressive. They have acquired companies possibly, or they have developed new assets. They are looking at the market. Their leverage is high. Their borrowing capacity is high. Don't be surprised if they offer a bid to buy us. Be prepared for hostile takeover, friendly takeover, or a merger. Look at the issues. We might need to value our company. Look at earnings-based valuation, because share price is already given. So go through the F3 areas. You will definitely be asked and tested on this area, valuing our company, whether a merger is good or bad to our shareholders. Please don't reject a merger or an acquisition bid unless looking at shareholder wealth. Issue number 12 is the share price. Let's see. In 2012, the share price was $7.8 and it reached the highest in 2013. $11.2 was our highest in 2013. Then it came down dramatically. Okay, like a crashing airplane. And at the beginning of this year, it was $4.2. Can you imagine coming down from 11.4 3 years ago to 4.2? That is a 63% reduction in the last 3 years. Big problem. That's why I don't like it, and I have a doubt with the financial statement, because the share price is crashing down. Maybe they created new customers. Maybe there's a fraud here. Maybe a white collar crime. Maybe they created a new retail or give them better terms so that they purchased our watches, but not necessarily the end consumer. That's why our turnover increased at the rate of the debtors. Maybe we have a problem because the management might have looked at short-term shareholder wealth generation, increasing the share price. We paid a dividend of 228 million. How do you know that? This is how you look at it. I want you to calculate that. You have the retained earnings closing balance in 2016. Then you have the retained earnings closing balance 2017. So what is the difference between the retained earnings closing balance 2016 to 2017? Only difference is the net profit. So technically, if there is zero dividend, the retained earnings from 2016 should increase exactly from the amount of net profit in 2017. Clear? Right. Here it has not increased from the exact amount. The difference is 228. That's the dividend. So you can do the calculation. Please do that. And not only that, we have paid 45% as dividend from our net profit. Looks short term. Looks we are trying to please the shareholders. There can be a crisis in the exam. examiner will give you a newspaper article saying, our share price is down, something has been disclosed, we are struggling. Not only that, Lien has looked at the opportunity and pressed us for a takeover bid. Keep that in your mind. Be prepared for that. Be positive. Look at long-term strategy. Issue number 13 is human resource management. Let's look at this in detail in a practical perspective. How many staff do we have? 1,000 staff in what factory? Surprised? Oh yes. Why? We don't have HR director. We don't have HR director. Who's going to look after these staff? What if they have a problem? Can they have problems? Of course, every day. Why? The interpersonal skills are very low. How do I say that? Because they work in their own bench. They don't communicate with each other. They are specialists and you can't question them. If I'm a watchsmith or a craftsman, I decide how many minutes required to do the flywheel, how many minutes required to do the turbulent, how many minutes requires to pierce the brace plate, okay, to get the 53 holes in that. You have seen that in the case study. The plate has 53 holes pierced. So I decide that. Meaning, I have authority. You can't question me. That's the problem. That's why we can have conflicts. So we need HR director. Not only that, we need leadership in HR and we need to have motivation in staff. We need to have proactive strategy. If you see the case in CSR, they are saying the management regularly meets the staff representatives. What do they say? Management regularly meet the staff representatives. What's the problem in that? Very simple. You can meet the staff representatives, but they won't give you the exact ideas of staff. So randomly, you need to look at the ideas of staff, which is very important. Otherwise, you can't move forward. Remember, this is luxury research making. That means you need to get closer to the craftsman. He decides how the research operates. Don't take a chance. Recommend to have an HR director. And not only that, we have a production director, okay, who doesn't have a production background. The production director, Dr. Felicia, joined the company in 2014 with academic background with a PhD. Only 2 years with the company and specialist in computer numerical control. I have had my research company. I know, being a non-technician, very difficult to manage the staff because the idea is simple. Your boss do not know anything about the craftsmanship. So you can't tell anything to them. They might tell sometimes 4 hours to do a job which takes 1 hour. You can't question them. So recommend to have a research and development director with expertise with this craftsman, this trade. This is a beautiful trade with a tradition more than 300 years. Okay, so keep that in your mind. And also I would like to see a IT director. With the technology, with the growth of the internet, we might need to recommend an IT director, but definitely we need a HR director. Issue number 14, change management. Wonderful topic. If you look at the case study throughout, you will see we incorporated in 1910, 100 years ago, but we have only 7 models. We are a little bit egoistical. Well, we say the ego should be within yourself, but sometimes ego is above your roof. Then only you have the problem, isn't it? Yes, we over depend on past success. We think the past pattern will continue. Is it a problem? Yes, competition is very high. It's very aggressive. And don't forget, we know the market in 1930, where people were serious, where people had ethical values, where people had one watch and they had a lifetime interest and they were genuine gentlemen. Now the ideas have changed. Now the authorities have changed. Now the young people will never stick to one value. They will not stick to one wristwatch. They need variety. We need to change. We need to look at the new market. We need to look at the trend. So we need to change. Examiner will ask you, identify the problems. Resistance to change. Clearly there is resistance to change, and how to overcome resistance. What comes to your mind? Oh yes, only one thing. Kurt Lewin, force field analysis definitely will be tested. Please use the model. What is the model? Unfreeze, change, process, refreeze. Look at change, look at the future. Past success is fine. We develop rugged, we develop very high quality, tough wristwatches for aviation and with sport, but we need to look at the new market, be more flexible and be more innovative in the design. So recommend to change, use force field analysis and make sure you refreeze for the long term. Issue number 15, Internal control and audit. Oh yes, audit will be tested. Why? Examiner gave an audit committee. Normally they won't give information about various committees in a case study like this. Definitely you need to strengthen the audit committee, and the examiner will test you to develop an audit plan. And don't be surprised if they provide a fraud. Fraud? Why? Simple. These wristwatches are made from gold, include precious stones and metal, and then it is assembled in the factory, and the work in progress and parts are carried out by staff pushing trolleys. Can you imagine? The valuable particles and gold, platinum, jewelry, gems, all the watches engraved with diamonds are pushed in a trolley throughout the factory from one process to another. Can there be a loss in a diamond? Can we lose some gold? Oh yes. Oh yes. Definitely there can be fraud. There can be fraud. Gold is a precious metal. Very important. So look at fraud prevention. Always prevention is better. And they might ask to develop a report for the external auditor, minimize these issues, how to take action, and the role of internal audit based on internal control. Look at the internal controls mainly, not everything, not the entire soap spam. Supervision is important. Very important to have supervision, because we don't know what's happening inside the bench of a staff member. Establish internal audit, strengthen that. Issue number 16 is branding. Very important. We have a wonderful brand. People love our brand. Actually, people loved our brand. In the past, we have century-old tradition and traditional market leaders. They never change. Rugged feeling, tough watch, one of a kind. Has to change. We need to change the brand. See, it's very important to evolve over the years. We need to evolve, and especially the case study talks about quartz watches and smart watches. Young people loves to wear that. See, there's a difference between a dress watch and a self-winding watch. What do you mean by a dress watch? Where you wear with the dress. I don't wear dress watches. That is for young people. Those are battery watches. That means you match your dress with a watch, you leave it, next function you wear a different watch. There's another function in the night, you wear a different watch. Dress watches. That's what young people like. We never change. We operate with our standard. So branding has to re-emerge. Don't forget, we were successful in the last century. Doesn't mean that we will be successful in the next century. We need to rebrand. So these are the tests examiner will like you to do. How to rebrand it? How to develop brand extension? Well, Balera has developed a link with the fastest car in the world. Patek Philippe has relationships. Bowman Mercier recently developed a deal with Indian Motorcycle, the first motorbike in United States who compete with Harley Davidson. So we need to extend our brand, develop relationship maybe with motor racing. Our CEO loves motor racing, Alan. Case study says maybe we can have our own team like Red Bull. Maybe we look at broader things like golf, sponsor whitewater rafting, scuba diving, look at new areas, extend the brand, identify sports young people like. That is the future. Young people is the key. Very, very important. Issue number 17, threat of substitutes. Very important. Who comes to your mind? Michael Porter 5 force theory definitely will be tested. The case study talks about two substitutes. First one is the quartz movement, which was introduced by Seiko in 1970. Then the second one is smartwatch. But the case study says we are okay with quartz. We have seen it. Yeah, you have seen it. You have seen Japanese quartz. You have seen basic models of quartz. But you have never seen the luxury end, which might change your life. Then smartwatch is the future. Actually, smartwatch is not a watch. It's a way of life, the iWatch. Don't think that we are competing with a watch. No. Smartwatch is your life. It talks with your car. It talks with your phone. You get a phone call, you answer by looking at your watch. It connects with your laptop. It connects with your tablet. It checks your pulse. It checks your speed. It checks your heartbeat. It checks your life. It's your life. So if we are trying to think that we are competing with them, no, they are miles ahead. So we need to look forward. Maybe acquire a company which is in smartwatches. Don't use our name. We can use a different name or co-branding or joint venture or a new brand. But we need to reach the new market. We need to reach young people. Look at Facebook. You're on Facebook every day. People run 1 mile and put their picture saying, I ran 1 mile, I burned this amount of calories. What does that mean? They have a smartwatch. It's very difficult to wear electronic mechanical movement watch and do running. You can, but it doesn't fit the young people. It is somewhat old-fashioned. It fits people like me. So please remember, we need to change and take the threat of substitute very seriously. Otherwise, you are dead and buried. We can't change. We need to invest. We need to acquire in either a quartz movement or a smartwatch or both. Please remember that. Then, issue number 18 is the supply chain. Let's see. We have 350 parts connected to a brass plate which has 53 piercings. What does that mean? We have so many suppliers, and the examiner has said only one line in CSR. Yeah, don't worry. We manage our suppliers. When we select them, we check their legal system and whether they are ethical. That's it. Oh my goodness. Is that it? No, it's not it. Because to get a deal, you get an agreement. You will show a beautiful picture. You will paint a nice picture. It's like inviting somebody for dinner. Half an hour before they come, we arrange our dinner table. We arrange our surrounding. Wow, it looks nice. Okay, but that's not the actual picture. So like that, we need to make sure that continuously the suppliers operate within our ethical guideline and operate within the legal system. Don't forget, we have gold in our products. We have precious stones. Where do you get gold from? We have to dig the gold actually. We have to get it from mines. So what is the danger? The people who work in mines normally in certain regions in the world are very poor. Their working conditions are very poor. Their fundamental rights are normally not there. So I'm not saying everybody is doing that. But we need to have a proper monitoring system to look after these people and look after whether our suppliers meet these conditions of health and safety. Not only that, some of our wristwatches have leather strap. What does that mean? Animals has to be slaughtered or we take it from animals. What is the catch? Examiner says we are okay, we deal properly, we deal it the way we expect it. But in real life, as I said at the beginning, people can show you a nice picture and get the supply chain relationship. But we need to continuously look at these issues and make sure our suppliers are in line and whether they have a particular standard in treating animals and treating people, especially in gold mines. Be prepared. The examiner will give you an article from a newspaper saying 2 people have died in a particular mine. Oh my goodness. Now that's a danger. And they might say you have been highly criticized because one of your supplier used child labor. Oh dear, you are dead and buried. So be prepared for that and make sure you develop strategy. What comes to your mind? Mandela matrix. Clearly, Mandela matrix comes into your mind. Look at key players and look at striking a balance. Don't forget ethics. Very, very important. Issue number 19 is future strategy. Let's look at the developments in the company which we need to identify in developing future strategy. Obviously, the share price has come down and that is an issue. And for the last 3 years, share price has really come down and suddenly from nowhere it has gone up. Can you imagine that? From $4.2, suddenly skyrocketed within few months. That means they will test this. There can be a catch here. Examiner can test that clearly. And also, the future is on quartz watches. It's easy to manufacture because there's a battery electronic circuit. Meaning, if you manufacture 10 watches in a day with a mechanical clock movement, you can manufacture 5,000 quartz watches. Why? It requires very less labor because it's like manufacturing a soap. You know, it comes out the machine, the quartz movement comes in, the electronic watch comes in, it goes, comes in, goes. There's a battery. What's the catch? It won't last for more than 10 years, maybe maximum 20 years. But a mechanical watch lasts forever. So meaning, young generation will not want a watch to wear for 30 years. You might watch it for 5 years, maybe 2 years, that's your fashion. Because the fashion gets outdated quickly like the iPhone, comes and goes. So meaning, future is about these industries. Very, very important. And also, we need to look at relationships for the future. We need to have brand extension. We need to look at having another partner, maybe a joint venture, partnership with a supplier, partnership with a manufacturer or partnership with a retailer. Maybe we can have our own retail chain. Maybe we can develop a distribution system. Always remember, when you look at future strategy, ants of matrix is very important. Look at penetration, that's our current strategy, and look at market development. Maybe you can look at product development. We have only 7 models. Introduce a new product, introduce a new model, looking at the young market, looking at fashion market, or introduce the product in a new market. Maybe exporting strategy is required. For that, maybe we need to appoint an agent. Be prepared, and soft will be tested with this. Don't forget 3 strategy tests, Johnson and Scholes, suitability, acceptability, feasibility. All the new strategies you undertake should fit into our culture of leadership, precision, quality, achievement, and pride. Don't forget that. Final issue, issue number 20, industry analysis. I told you about Rolex. Follow Rolex, then you get full marks for the industry analysis. But let's look at the additional things. The examiner has said there's a practice to give a gold watch as a self-respect, sense of belongingness when you shake hand with a person. When you look at a new business deal, it's a concept followed throughout in every country, where if you're signing a deal to show an appreciation, maybe it's a political leader, maybe it's a leader of a company or a society, you will sign an agreement, and with a token of appreciation you will provide a gold watch. But it is changing now. People are giving a silk tie. So economic conditions is a problem. Not only that, the markets are changing. The examiner said we need to look at emerging markets, and that is changing. So be prepared to look at the industry, look at Rolex, and look at the guidelines, and then you will get marks on integration. Be prepared to look at the smartwatch industry, look what Apple is doing, and be prepared to look at Quartz. We need to look at the young market. Right. At a4study.com, I provide a detailed analysis of all these videos. Not only that, each issue will be analyzed in detail with the strategy and how the examiner will be tested with predictions. This includes supportive notes. You can visit a4study.com and understand our process. Best of luck for your exams. Thank you for listening.